Hello, and welcome back to the Skiing is Believing podcast. Long time no see, certainly. This episode, of course, brought to you by Ski Racing Media. Alan, how was your spring, my friend?
Yeah, it was okay. A bit empty in some parts because of obvious reasons. But yeah, it's been okay. Weather's been good, which is quite a surprise in this country. UK, of course. But okay, yeah.
Ian, welcome back yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Yes, and something a little bit different to reintroduce the podcast for a summer series similar to what we did last summer, but we'll get into that. Today, Ian is interviewing Alan and I. So over to you. Let's see how this one goes, and should be something different and something fun.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me along for this today and to try this out. And hopefully the listeners or viewers, anyone that's watching on YouTube as well, because I think you do have some viewers, will learn a little bit more about yourselves and some of the motivations behind the podcast. And we want to try and tease out one or two of your little favorite ski racing moments. And at some point, Matt, you could probably go make a cup of tea while me and Alan talk about Michael von Groningen and Sonia Neff and things. So if we get into the history of ski racing, but I just want to start. You guys have been going for a couple of seasons now. What was the motivation to start the podcast up?
I've got the nod of approval. I'll take this one then. So this was two ski seasons we've done now. There wasn't, to be honest, and I know this is probably something I should wait to say, but there wasn't at all any motivation to be going to World Cups, to be interviewing superstars, and to be chatting to people like you every week through the winter. I mean, that just seemed too far away when we first started in October 23. It was just to merely put a bit of the spotlight on ski racing, give myself some broadcasting experience. I was 16 when I started, just starting college or high school, I suppose you would call it in America for the US listeners, and just to get as much practice under my belt as possible whilst I had as much time as possible, and talking about something that we both love, Alan.
Yeah, you've also got to remember you spent a lot of time commentating on football, and I suggested to you, if you remember, that perhaps you should broaden your base a little bit. And you said, yeah, but what? And I said, well, one of the things I know about is skiing. And you said, oh, right. You had actually done some skiing, but at a very low level. But you said, yeah, we'll give it a go. And then it just snowballed from there, which, pardon the pun, but it did. It just snowballed. It just went better and better, and you just got deeper into it. Another pun.
Yeah, as you may have heard as a listener of the podcast yourself, that Alan would say, "What's a podcast? Like what is this?"
Yeah, I did. Actually, true that.
And one of our funny moments, which I will share off the bat, is Dave Ryding was making fun of you when we first met him at the London Snow Show, saying, I don't know bloody wireless internet. Never mind a bloody podcast."
I didn't. I knew what I'd heard of one. I'd never known what they were about because I'd never actually looked at one. They're just not in my world then. How things change.
So what was the Matt? You're pretty young to be, well, maybe not these days, but to start a podcast and start commentating. I was in my mid-20s when I commentated, apart from a very brief school assembly when 10 years old. It's another story. But we talked about just looking to broaden horizons and things. How did the two of you come together to work on the podcast? Because I think that's something that's we don't see too often, certainly not in the winter sports world, but there's a bit of an age gap between the two of you, and I think it provides a really nice dynamic on the podcast. But how did those conversations come?
Well, I think I've always sort of supported Matt since you were. Well, he spent a lot of time when he was at primary school. He used to come to our house every morning, so we spent lots of time together. And I've always thought, to support him in anything he wants to do. And that's why when he suggested the podcast, I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. He won't let me go stray too far. And it got to the stage now where it's the other way around, and I miss it. Now we're on the break. It just shows, though, doesn't it? It doesn't matter how old you are, you can still get involved in something. And I'm really involved in it now. I can't wait for the interviews and season to start.
Well, how lucky
Well,
you're both. I describe you guys as ski racing super fans now. Neither of you have got a ski racing background, but you just immersed yourselves in the sport, and now you find yourselves interviewing superstars throughout the season, which is probably really lovely change to the podcast. But tell listeners as much as you like about your skiing experience, and to give a little bit of flavour on that.
Do you want me
to? Well, you were first, so you go.
Okay. Well, I was 45 when I first put a pair of skis on, and I was about 50 when I actually skied. No, it took me a long time. I had my first lesson when I was 45, and I spent many years having lessons, and it took me a long time. Anyway, once Matt came along and my other grandson and granddaughter, once they came along and they were interested in skiing as a family, like we used to do, I took it on myself to do an instructor course, a BASI course, basically so that I could teach them, so that when they went abroad, if they wanted lessons, they would be taught the same way as I was teaching them, so it wouldn't be strange to them. And it just went on from there. I was 68 when I took my BASI. And then when I was 70, I did coaching, racing with BASI. And I still ski. I skied we skied this year, didn't we, Matt? Skied in February in Haifa.
Yeah.
And we went to Chill Factory about 3 weeks ago, me and you, didn't we? So that's my brief background of skiing. Yeah, go on, Matt.
Go on, Matt.
I can't point a finger at a holiday or a place because I was too small to remember that. Like how we speak to Austrian kids or Austrian racers now when they say, "Oh yeah, I was 1.5 when I first put a pair of skis on." Well, I was, although I'm nowhere near their level.
Yeah, but we were in your own then.
Yeah, I was being pushed around or pulled around rather. And then, I mean, racing, like a lot of people, I think, unfortunately in this country, they don't really know what racing is, don't really know that it even exists. They just like to buckle up at once a year or even less and enjoy the mountains, enjoy Europe and make the most of it, have a real good time. And then when, like you said earlier, that it was just to find something different, to find a bit of a niche, which I certainly have found now, very much so. That we got into the watching the racing and everything, but now, yeah, I wouldn't mind missing out on a beach holiday completely all year long if it meant I could go skiing an extra time or two.
Yeah, I like that. I used to say that, but now I'm into my surfing, which I've started later in life as well, Alan, and I think it's a really important message, sort of separate from the podcast, isn't it? That you can start stuff, try stuff, whatever age you are, within reason. You look after yourself. But one of the great things about skiing is, aside from ski racing, is as you get older, you physical, maybe some people have some physical challenges. You can adapt where you go. You can adapt it to the environment. You could cruise the greens, the blues, go out for an hour, stop for a cup of tea, or if you're Matt's age, you can ski for 7 hours a day and hit the blacks, the double blacks, and
Whoa,
do
whoa.
that. But that's not what I'm capable of now. Maybe for an hour or two, then I have to stop for some caffeine and a bit of food. But it's one of the beautiful things about this sport, and I think it's clearly brought you two together. And I imagine the podcast has strengthened the relationship. It already sounded really strong. It's probably put some. Has there been any moments that challenge a little bit of any needle between the two of you as the season's going?
I don't think there's a challenge when we're
No?
skiing. There's a bit of a challenge when we're skiing. It tries to keep. It tries to keep up with me.
Oh.
Even at my age, it's not easy. It's not easy. I still think I'm pretty good at, even though I'm 82 now. But so what? It's just a number, that, isn't it? You ask Lindsay Vonn.
I was just going to say, you sound like Lindsay Vonn.
We might come on to her at some point later on. Before we move on to a few quick fire questions, just to start talking about a little bit more about ski racing. Matt, you've been in touch with me. We talked a lot about the industry. That's maybe one for a whole other podcast. But you're using this to develop skills. I think one of the things I said to you, it's pretty hard to become a commentator. And the advice that Alan, your granddad, has given you as well is broaden your horizons. And that's absolutely spot on, because there isn't that many seats available. And to be honest, there's going to be fewer and fewer seats available with the way things are going, with world feeds and stuff. That's down the line. But you're developing skills here, editing, the journalistic skills that you need, as well as your commentary that you do at home. How have you found that? And have you noticed the progression in your skills around the media side of things over the last couple of years?
100%, because I came into this almost with a blindfold on to what I needed to do, even from the very start, or what I should have been doing at the very start, which I am now doing. I don't think you quite realise how much you should be doing, or how much you could be doing, in terms of just with a podcast and adding little bits of music and, you know, editing out when Alan says something a little bit stupid. That was just a joke. No, there's nothing. I don't edit out Alan. But yeah, there's so many different bits and pieces you can play with that I have played with, and that have worked well or not worked so well, and you know, that's only been able to add to the skills that I've acquired, and the things that are surely only going to help me when it comes to a position like yours, Ian, in a few years, where I'll be, fingers crossed, behind a much more professional microphone than this one in front of me right now, and yeah, maybe earning a bit of money for it.
I think moving forward with the industry. Sorry,
I just want to say that this podcast, all the stats and the planning and everything what goes into making it, is down to Matt. All I do is sit there and come up with a few funny lines, and I've just got the little bits and pieces. Matt is the one who does all the work, but I'm there to support him. Sorry, Ian.
Oh no, I think it's good to get that across, and I've seen the work that you're putting in, Matt, and persistence as well. And ultimately, in the industry, that is absolutely key. My view is, I think, as the industry changes, you need to have multiple skill sets, but persistency and hard work, that's going to get you far, whatever you do.
I do remember getting a message. It was some point during the season when I was trying to arrange a podcast with Benji Alexander, the Jamaican who we managed to meet in London, and he said, I will always remember this because it's one of them that stuck with me. If in the dictionary the word persistence must have your name next to it, Just the amount of times that I'd asked him to do the podcast and he'd said, "Yeah, we'll get it sorted. Yeah, we'll get it sorted." And eventually we did. And I was like, I even came all the way to London just to meet you to see whether you'd come on the podcast. And that just really sort of made me realize sort of that it's worth it all, and every single message you send could lead to
Yeah.
something that changes a tiny little thing or changes to something even bigger. You never know.
Absolutely. And it's the same, as you said, you want to be a commentator. Nothing's advertised. It's all contacts, and the only way that you can even get a foot in the industry is persistence and approaching people in the correct manner. Accept that you're going to get told no a lot, as you would have done, from sure, from many athletes that you're trying to interview, though most are pretty keen to come on. So it's really good that you're developing those skills. And if someone that listens to the podcast and lucky enough to be invited on occasionally, you can see the progression, the quality, and everything changing. And from when I first listened to you guys reviewing races and reading times out, and I think I said to you, Matt, that doesn't quite come across so well in a podcast, but when you start actually talking about the emotions, what you feel, what you've enjoyed, those big moments, then the two of you come to life on it. I want to move on to some quick fire questions. Now, I know you guys normally do this at the end, but I thought I'd throw it in somewhere in the middle or towards the start. So you can take it in either order. Try and keep it very short, please. Where you learned to ski, or I'll rephrase that. First place you ever put skis on?
Rosendale.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, and I spent quite a lot of time there. As a family, we used to go, except Matthew's mother, who hated it. She was a good skier, but she didn't like the dry slope.
Dry slope's where it's at. Love it.
She still moans about them today.
What about you, Matt? Can you remember?
Not sure. I think. Do you? I bet you know.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like it might be Levy 09.
Well, probably, yeah, probably.
I think it was.
Yeah, he used to follow me, and can we not go faster, Grandad? Can we not go faster?
Maybe not in 09. I was only 18 months old.
Oh no, when you were older.
Bit later. But yeah, I think it must have been around then, and I think it was just before my sister was born. So my mum wasn't. This I don't remember this at all. I think this is something you've told me or she's told me. So my mum wasn't doing an awful lot of skiing, so I stayed a lot with her, but did buckle in once or twice.
Oh yeah. You used to do a bit, but when you start properly, that's when you say that's your starting, and that's why I say I was a long time before I actually started skiing properly. My principle on that is the difference between skiing and going down a slope on a pair of skis.
Sounds a little bit like my golf game. Let's move on to favorite place to go skiing.
Go on, Matt.
Favorite resort?
Yeah, or place. It could be Rosendale. Chill factor. Hemel. Avi Cairngorm.
Well, for me, Jasper.
Nice.
In Canada. That's my ultimate. Not, it's unbelievable. For me, it is anyway. It's not a difficult place, but it's great. Well, it's as difficult as you make it, isn't it?
I've got three. But I'll pick one. I'm not being like that, Ian. Don't worry.
We got time. You can give us three. Keep different parts of the world happy.
Yeah, that's. See, I think Levy has to get a mention, and I think Alan would give it a mention as well because having skied our first World Cup, having watched our first, no, having watched our first World Cup there, yeah, World Cup debut, and having skied that before seeing the World Cup there, both of us have skied that Levy Black, and whew, that lip is not as nice as it looks on TV. Half Yell, obviously having been there and watched the races and skied that area, I think and that was very recent. That's where we went in February, and World Cup finals there next season. And it's just a beautiful area, beautiful conditions, really nice people, just brilliant. And I would also give a shout out to Badgerstein because we went there Christmas 2022, stayed in a chalet, and there was one day I remember our last day of skiing. It snowed the night before, and it was a beautiful powder day at the top of the resort, quite high altitude stuff, which was really nice. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, great answer. Mine's Whistler, straight up.
Oh, Ian, what's your favourite resort? Sorry.
Yeah,
I
Whistler.
didn't realise we were asking. Yeah, Whistler.
Whistler, hands down. Love it. It's changed a lot over the years, but been back there in March and yeah, it's still got the magic. Okay, back onto some ski racing. All-time. Now, this time, Matt, you can have three. All-time top three favourite ski racers.
Are you ready?
You can give me five if you want.
I think the whole world could guess Alan's number one.
Yeah, okay. Alan can give us two.
Kessel Andre Amot. And then we've got Tomba.
Yes.
And now we've got Michaela Schifrin. They're honestly, they're my three. There are plenty more like Herman Meyer and Cody Miller, Zurbriggen. I've got a load here, Lasse Hughes, Clammer, loads, our boys, the Bell boys, Bartolski, there's loads. Alan Baxter. Come on.
Hard to pick favourites, isn't it? But yeah.
You've not really given three there, have you, Al?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's three within there. There. That's fine. I love some of my earliest memories of ski racing were watching Tomba and Giardelli, and they just got me hooked. I've not met either of them. Another ski racer I loved watching, who I've had the pleasure to meet, was Christian Godina. Proper downhiller. Loved him. But if I was given top threes, I mean Herman Meyer. I've got his book somewhere up here behind me. Herman Meyer, Michael von Groningen, and a left field choice, Janica Kostelic. Not left field, actually. It was, she had a relatively short, but what a career, what a ski racer. If you ask me again tomorrow, I know you didn't ask me, I just gave them to you. I'd probably give you three different names, but there you go. Matt, what about yourself?
I do have Giardelli down here, actually. He was another one. I would have got in the three, but when we interviewed him, he said to Mark, "Who's that older guy next to you?" So I thought, he's going to have me top three now. He's number four.
Mark, what have you done?
Don't say that. He might come back on the podcast.
He's a good guy.
My three. Oh God. Dave Ryding. I mean, what that guy has done for this sport and for this country. I mean, a lot of people know who that guy is, and they don't know what sport he does. That's how good he's been, and to win a World Cup, to still be doing it at his age and still be amongst the very elite and some of the best of all time. If you're talking the likes of Kristoffersen and well, I'm not going to say the best of all time because a lot of them are still young in the slalom, but Dave is certainly up there. Alexis Pinturault has to get a shout out for me because the first season I properly watched ski racing, it was his overall season when he won the title in 2021. And I love his name, first and foremost.
I know you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I love that he was, the Courchevel kid, as Nick Fellows always used to say. Just an all-rounder, could score points in any discipline, score podiums in probably everything but downhill at that time. And yeah, I just really want to meet him at some stage. And then, because Alan's taken Schifrin, but I'm not. I feel like we want to keep it pretty a level playing field in terms of men and women. Alan, who do you think I'm going to say?
I think you're going to say Cyprian Sheridan.
He's my third man, but I thought I should say a woman, so I'll say Zrinka Lutic.
Oh, of course.
Because
Yeah.
to have spoken to her and then go and see her win 3 World Cups and the slalom title this season was one of my highlights. And I think that's one of your questions that's going to come in. But that just the way she skied this year, absolute all-out attack. In fact, very similar to Janica Kostelic. Very similar.
Yeah.
And, don't be surprised if she's eyeing up 1, 2 medals, because she only does 2 disciplines in the Olympics next year. And yeah, I think obviously you guys have gone very, very retro with yours, because I don't feel it's appropriate for me to pick those ones when I've not really seen them race. And I've also stuck in. I feel like I've gone quite futuristic with my female choices. Lara Coccieri. I think she is already one of the best, and she's 18. The fact that she is not much older than me at all makes it extra impressive, I think. And what she's done this season and what she definitely will do next season and beyond, whether she goes and gets an Olympic medal on home snow next February, it will be very interesting, considering the rumours that were coming around at some point in the spring. But yeah, I think there's a couple there. There's a few there, in fact. But yeah.
I think you need to get Zrinka Lutic needs to come back on the podcast, because after that interview, she went on a charge, didn't she? So she needs to come. She needs to come back on. You're clearly a good luck charm.
I think she came on. It was just after Levy, when we met her in Levy that week, and then said, "Right, I'll see you on Wednesday for the podcast." She then went and won in Severin and Kranjska back to back either side of New Year, and then again in Courchevel, I think it was. Obviously missed out on a world championship title, but I think that was I think that appropriately went to Camille Rast. The way she skied throughout the season definitely deserved more than just her 2 wins. But then for Zrinka to get that globe and a couple more podiums over the line, behind Schifrin in Sestriere, I think she was fitting.
The sport is in good hands, isn't it, on the female side and the male side as well? It's so exciting.
You think about Alice Robinson as well, and Lauren Masuga. I mean, she is.
Yeah, what a breakthrough, for last season.
What a vibe.
Yeah,
what a vibe.
She's now leading the Masuga clan, isn't she? The 3 of them out there, and I think they've got a brother as well, haven't they? That's making waves maybe on NORAM circuit as well. So wow, impressive family with Lauren and Ali and Sam doing just fantastic things. Let's jump on quickly to the highlight of last season, and the way this is going, we're probably going to get 7 highlights each, but that's fine.
I've just got 2.
Okay. Ooh. You take it away, Alan.
And the first one is the Sun Valley Super G with Laura Gutbaume, Lindsay Vonn, and Brignoni. And I've watched it through again today, and it was a superb race, and really good race. And then we've got, for the men, I've got the downhill Swiss clean sweep. Von Allman, Odermatt, and Monet.
Cram Montana.
Sorry?
Cram Montana.
What about you, man?
What about me? Oh my God. I can't believe you haven't gone Schifrin in Sestriere, to be honest with you. But fair enough. I mentioned Zrinka's wins. Alan's mentioned the Swiss team there. I'm not going to say our experiences at the World Cups, because I think that might come even a bit later on.
Yes,
I'm going to say Jack Crawford in Kitzbühel.
Yeah, that just for the party alone, yeah.
Yeah, never mind him actually winning the race. The Londoner wins the moment of the season. I'm not going to lie. I've watched back my commentary and, in fact, the actual run itself of that one a few times since since we finished up for the spring, and it doesn't lose its excitement and its importance, because I feel like, I mean, we spoke to Ken Reid just after it, and he was saying, we've been waiting for that.
Yeah.
And it's just every time that they have success, they're the new Crazy Canucks. They're the new whatever they're calling themselves these days, because there's always got to be a nickname in the Canadian men's downhill team. And I think it was a real shame actually that Cam Alexander didn't feature more, because I think he was onto a flyer at the start of the season and could have had a really strong season with world champs as well. And from the women's side, I'm just going to say Brignone, because she was ridiculously good. I mean, we spoke about it time after time on the podcast with you and just ourselves as well. But she's doing things that no woman has ever done before in terms of her age and in terms of still her dominance. Because to be doing that, all right, you've got tough competition in every single race, because the GS has been hot this season with Robinson. The way she, to a certain extent, dominated that discipline, took the World Championship gold, an absolute credit to herself. And I don't think we even mentioned it on the podcast at the end of the season. I've got my fingers very firmly crossed that she makes Milano Cortina, because those games won't be the same without her if that injury doesn't heal up.
Yeah. I don't think you've done a podcast since the injury, have you?
No, because it was national champs, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was early April, wasn't it? Yeah, just gutted for her. Absolutely, after what a season. So fingers crossed, as you say, we wish her all the best, because Milano Cortina will be, hopefully she makes it. Of course, that's what everyone wants to see, but it won't quite be the same if she's not there. Put it that way. But
no.
And it was such good battles. You pointed out her age there, and we talked about that a little bit, earlier. You threw in another Lara Gutbarami, again, not at the start of her career, but still unbelievable. And I always say one of the most underrated of the greatest ski people to ever do the sport.
You said that to us before.
I say it to anyone that listens. I think her record stands for itself, and I don't think she gets quite enough credit for that, personally.
I mean, what, 100 podiums now?
It's insane, isn't it? 100 podiums. Yeah, okay, Schifrin's won 100 times, but Schifrin is she's like a century type talent. You get one of them, every 50 years, she's on another plane. But the consistency of Lara Gut as well. And on age as well. Lindsey Von Allen, you touched that on that Super G in Sun Valley. A lot of negative chat about why is she doing this. Well, that's why she did it, because she believed in herself. Doesn't matter. She's the same age as me, and she is out there hitting the podium. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable to get into the shape after the injuries, the surgeries that she's had. I mean, just so much respect. And I remember watching Lindsay race so much and enjoying her when she was on. It was exciting. You'd see her cross the finish line, maybe when she didn't win. What is it? Is it 82 wins she's got? Is that 82 or 84? Yeah. 82, and second place was a failure, third. And if she was off the podium, she weren't happy. To see that celebration, that joy, because it wasn't for anyone else. It was purely about her getting third place. That made the season for me, because of you could see just how much it meant to her. It was absolutely fantastic moment.
Yeah.
I think
I know now why I said Conquigora, because I got mixed up. Sarah Hector had a win at Conquigora.
Yeah.
And that was a superb run as well. And
that was a great race. Yeah.
Both, and I must have crossed them over.
When you said Conquigora, I thought you were going Christopherson's double, to be honest, because that was impressive. Like, first GS win for 3 years, and then backs it up in the slalom to give him the lead in the overall title charge, which was very good in men's slalom, which we expected. We said that back
in the last race, wasn't it?
And it delivered. But just touching back for a moment, I know these are supposed to be quick fires,
Yeah,
but that US women's speed team, whew, we've spoken Masuga, we've spoken Vaughn. I mean, those two, like, they're half each other's age. Masuga's half Vaughn's age. Factor in Breezy Johnson, who's the world downhill champion, who deserves a massive shout out for moment of the season too. And you've got one hell of a team. If Schifrin, maybe she goes back into Super G as well. She could definitely win one if the fear factor isn't there. Then you're looking at one of the true contenders to take a good amount of medals at the Olympics and a good few podiums over the course of next season.
I think Schifrin, I said this before we're getting into ski racing chat, which is quite good fun, isn't it? Schifrin could be the best Super G skier on the planet. I think she probably is the best Super G skier in the field if she wants to race and that discipline and trains it. Technically, she's just so good. And yeah, that team they're hot right now, aren't they? They are going in with a bit of pressure. Canadian men as well going into next season, which leads us on to the next question a little bit. But you made a point about the Canadian men. It always comes in waves, doesn't it? And I was lucky enough to be involved a little bit in the Canadian system on the coaching side, and they never quite made that jump and had the consistency with a few athletes that I think they were really hoping for. You had guys like Mike Yannick, was just really solid in slalom. I don't know if Mike ever won off the top of my head. He had podiums.
No.
He had Eric Gay as well on the speed. Thomas Grandi, a name that Alan will remember in GS, was just a joy to watch. And now they've got a group, not necessarily the youngest group, but they got an exciting group coming through. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do as well. As you can see, I'm dressed like a Canadian as well today, so I always give them a shout out. Last one of the quick fire, which has taken us about half an hour, but it's been quite interesting to talk ski racing, isn't it? Who do you think, guys? Who do you think is going to be like the big star of Milano Cortina next season, or maybe a breakthrough star? I'll let you guys answer it however you see fit.
Right. Shall I go? Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
Right. Well, I've actually put a few names in who I think are going to get medals. Not necessarily gold medals.
Oh, he's going early. He's going very early.
This won't count as our predictions for next season, or your predictions for next season. However, if you are correct, we will count it, and you can claim it.
Thoughts. And I've got downhill for ladies, Masuga. I've got Super G, Brignoni, GS, Emma Eicher, and slalom, Camille Rast. Them are my predictions for a medal, not necessarily, For the men, Von Allman in the downhill, Odermatt in the Super G, Loic Maillard in the GS, and are you ready? Lucas Bratton in the slalom.
Yes. Love it.
Them at the moment.
Olympic star. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Never done it before. Never won. He's never won a gold at a major championships, but he's got a lot of World Cup wins, and Ian knows what I'm going to say here. On the Stelvio, last Olympic cycle, surely he'll be 36. It's got to be a home win. It's got to be Dominic Paris.
Yeah. That would be nice. That would be.
I think he would
be
take
the story of the games.
I think he would take not scoring a World Cup point all season if it meant he got his hands on a bit of gold. And I think, even to a certain extent, it doesn't matter if it's downhill or Super G. I mean, the way he skied in Kvitfjell, for example, he could do it in both.
Yeah.
And then he is, talking a bit current news. He'd be like the Pope in Italy.
I think Scott McTominay is kind of still ahead of him at the moment if we want to get into football chat. But that was me. But imagine if Paris wins in Bormio, because men's downhill is one of the biggest events. So others will say other sports, but let's be honest, men's downhill is yeah, it's up there, isn't it? It's the men's 100. It's the 100 meters
Yeah.
of the Olympic Games, Winter Olympics, and for Paris to do it in Bormio, a
But
lot
this
of
is the other
pressure
thing,
though.
isn't it?
A
How
lot of
many
pressure.
Olympic Games, the last three at the very least, and I think you were there in Vancouver in 2010, Ian, that the last three have been on non previously non-used slopes. In
Yeah.
Sochi, in Pyeongchang, in Beijing, nobody knew anything, and it sort of proved in the champions. But this is, Alexis Monet going there, having won the last downhill in Bormio last season. There's not going to be a downhill in Bormio after Christmas. They're saving it for the Olympics, and the same with Cortina on the women's side of things. So I've got Sophia Goggia's name on that one and Dominic Paris's name on the other, and they'll be doing, there'll be pasta and pizza everywhere.
I'll give you another little story. There's it's still alpine, but it's on a snowboard. Yeah, we're not going to talk Asta Ledecka. But there's a guy called Roland Fischnaller. 6 times he's been to the Olympic Games. Made his debut in 2002. He's going to be competing if he qualifies, because the Italian men in snowboard alpine are just so stacked with talent right now. They could select 8 guys, and every single one of them would have a chance in parallel GS. Fischnaller, he'll be 45, and he's the current world champion. Won it back in end of March in parallel GS. It may just have selected him, that title, for the team. But how many athletes get to compete in 2 home Olympics? 2006, 2026, 20 years apart. And he's one of the best to ever do it. And I know it's not alpine racing, but got to give Fischnaller a shout out, because he is just, it's going to be something special if he can deliver on the big stage in Milano Cortina. I imagine got quite a lot to chat about throughout the season, in the lead up to Milano Cortina, because it's going to be pretty epic. I obviously cannot wait for it. So
I mean,
let's
Von for the downhill,
why not?
Queen of Cortina, one final hurrah. She could retire the next day.
Amazing. The other thing I got to add about Fischnaller, he's never had an Olympic medal in all his career. He's won.
There you go.
God, how many times has he won on the World Cup? Over 23 times, 53 podiums, 2-time world champion. Never been on the Olympic podium. But yeah, Vaughn would be another serious story. And
that's the exact same record as Paris.
Is it exactly the same?
23 wins and I think 53 podiums.
It's funny how it all works. Let's double check that. I don't know his record off the top of my head.
I hope it is now.
I'll just find him. Dominic
But
Paris,
I think Austria need to have a king or queen.
24 wins for Paris, 50 podiums.
Nearly.
Not far away. Good knowledge.
Well, I knew it was somewhere around there because it was 50th podium, and it would have been like 5th Super G winning Kvitfjell, because I knew that he had at least got 24, because I remember them saying it for the downhill. But I think Austria will need a king or queen, whether that's Vernier doing World Championship and Olympic double, Connie Hooter, they're 32, 33 they'll be. Getting on a little bit more. Miran Pukner going one better than Beijing. She'll be 33. Or on the men's side, Kriegmeier at 34. But I tell you what, my money, if Austria are to have a champion, is probably going to be on Lucas Feuerstein over any of the older ones, or maybe Raphael Haase even.
We'll see what the pressure does, and we'll get an idea going in. But I think you guys are probably going to run quite a few chats before. Let's wrap up the quick fire 40 minutes there, but it's kind of fun to go back, look back on the season a little bit, look ahead. Turn it back to the podcast, and obviously when you guys started, two of you were just reviewing races, but you made a switch last January, was it? January 2024, to start interviewing. How did that come about, and how did you find, probably aimed more of this part at Matt, like getting people on?
It was my uncle, Alan's son, who messaged you. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, on LinkedIn, I think I got a message. Yeah.
On LinkedIn. I've still got the screenshots of what you sent. Your podcast is rubbish. You need some improvement. No, it was all very positive. But as you say, we were reading out times and stuff like that, so we fixed that quickly. But I just then realised he sent a message to you and Guido, who's the German Eurosport commentator who we've had on the pod. He's a lovely guy. And I then realised that him sending them messages, that I could send anyone messages on Instagram. And one day I just sent everyone in ski racing a message and had a number of responses that stunned me, to be quite honest. Graham Bell sent me his phone number within the first message, and we had him on the podcast within a week, talking about Kitzbühel and talking about, when he raced and beat Franz Klammer and whatever else. It was almost like that. And once we got the book for it, once we'd spoke to Graham for over 90 minutes for the first interview, we got the bug and didn't stop until a few months ago when I stopped for my exams. So we obviously enjoy it, and it's just amazing to have that insight from the people that you watch every week and the people you have watched every week. For someone like Alan, who's people that he's been watching way back as well, like Mark Giardelli, for example, was incredible to have someone who could talk about skiing in the 1980s and 70s even, and can talk about, analysing Marco Odermatt's giant slalom skiing nowadays. It was just one of the standout moments. But the way it then quickly transpired from Graham Bell to Roy Stoydel to Brody Seeger to Ivica Kostelic and beyond, and still going now and hoping to do even more throughout the summer. I'm sure Alan's got something to add.
Yeah, our idea was to let people know that these athletes are normal human beings. They're not just somebody who goes flying around in Lycra, but they actually speak and are very friendly, and they work very, very hard, and they're so committed to what they do. And this is what I thought was great to show people listening. And to us, it meant even more because it gives you more insight in what happens, It was good, wasn't it, Mark? It was good.
Yeah. Very good.
To have a few who we'd like to get who we didn't get, but
it's not over, Alan.
You never know.
This isn't the last episode,
I know.
I hope not. I think it for me it totally changed the dynamic. I remember us having a chat, Matt, after you just started to get a few people on, and you were asking about what to do over the summer and things to keep it going. Because I think with any podcast, as soon as you stop posting, and I know that you've had exams on, I think you've still got some exams, so there's a pretty good reason why you can't be putting a podcast out every week, and the exams are more important than the podcast for now. Get them out of the way, and so that the athletes sometimes have more time to chat over the summer. You've got equipment changes. There's a whole host of coaching changes we could do an episode on, and what that might mean. Or you could do an episode on, I should say.
Are you coming on again?
If you invite me, I'll come on again. But there's no other outlet to hear from these people. Every week you were dropping interview, this person, that person, like, oh, cool. Nowhere else to get that. You get snippets of the racers maybe in a TV broadcast, you get a flash interview from the winner. And let's be honest, we could write what the winner says now. It was a great day, really happy, to beat these men or women who are all such amazing athletes. This means so much to me. We get that every race. You might get a little package, at the start of a show. Skis they are great at always bringing some interviews as well, but you maybe get one athlete. You get every week, and people can go back and listen to, what's it, 25 athletes, maybe more, maybe less, but there's a lot of people, not just athletes, but the broadcasters, coaches that you've had on, and you've created a bank of really interesting content as well. I think it totally changed the dynamic. I got to ask you, was there anyone you were nervous to interview?
Not me, no.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but I was quite comfortable with everybody.
You'd chat
Absolutely.
with anyone, Alan.
I'll be perfectly honest. I can't say has there anyone been on who I've thought, oh, let's get it over with. They've all been brilliant, and I could have gone on and on and on. But I'm nervous. I've never been nervous. I might have been, but I haven't.
And there's never been a conversation. There has been conversations where Alan has started and not known an awful lot about them.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
then got to know so much about them, which is exactly like you say. Pick a favorite episode. I think you might ask that in a second, so I'm sort of spoiling this one.
Well, just move on. Like, give us a few favorite guests. Not to put anyone else.
He's got some favorites. But no, what I was saying was there are some favourites, and there are the big names that we could reel off almost. But it's those true conversations, like speaking to Zach Carrick-Smith after he just won the Youth Olympic gold, and getting those stories. That's what journalism is. That's what a podcast is about. Telling the stories of those that wouldn't necessarily be able to tell their stories otherwise. And in situations like that, it has felt a bit more meaningful. All right, we spoke to Zrinka Lutic, for example, but did she tell us anything that she wouldn't have told the press at a World Cup or another podcast, for example? Not really, but you get what I mean? It's harder to almost
but you give them time,
not prize information out of them, but to get that information that you didn't know.
You're giving them about an hour or 30 minutes, how much time they give you, and it's quite conversational. So it's not that people give away anything, any trade secret or someone that they don't like or someone they hate on tour or anything. It's none of that. No. They give all the stuff that is probably out there, but they tell it in their own way, in their own words.
Yeah,
that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it human, and I find that great. There's so many, like, I loved listening to Darren Ralphs. Did that not go over 2 parts as well? Because I think it was one of your early ones as well. And I was so impressed. Like, they got Darren Ralphs, because someone of my age, if you're into ski racing, he's on your list. And I got to know him very briefly on ski cross tour, and yeah, it was great. And so I was super impressed when you bagged Darren for the podcast.
That was only 2 parts because I messed up the editing.
Ah, all right, fair enough.
So it's not always easy, I tell you. All right, it was an hour and a half long, but I hadn't planned to put it into 2 parts. But hey ho.
You obviously planning some more interviews. You get any teasers? Anyone coming up that you can say yet, or?
Why are you looking at me?
Schifrin?
No, not yet.
One of the wish lists, isn't it? On the wish list.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she'll. I'm sure you'll tell her in Levy to come back on. But there we go. We're going to Levy again. We've got that all booked. Well, I didn't. I wasn't. I'm not jumping the gun.
I think you are.
We've got Levy booked, so we'll be there. We'll be watching the 2 slaloms again, men and women. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. We will be back throughout the summer. We've got a couple of different episodes lined up for the summer. We've got a dry slope episode, doing a bit of justice to that, and I'm sure Ian will be wanting to tune into that one. So we went down to up to Pendle rather, last month, and we're hopefully going to get to one of the race series there. Maybe do a bit at Chill Factor as well. Talk about South America and New Zealand as those summer seasons progress with their winters even. And yeah, just keep going. We'll see who comes. We've not got anything that can. This is why I can't say who is it going to be, because we've not got any dates in the diary yet, just yet. But from the release of this episode, then we'll be back on weekly interviews. Alan,
We will.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, I like it. I'm looking forward to seeing who you get on. Have you ever had anyone message you asking to come on yet?
I have.
You don't have to say who. I'm just interested to know if anyone is actually.
And they haven't been on the podcast yet.
Ian,
it's just one of them where
he doesn't always tell me until the day before.
Yeah, we've got Mark Giardelli coming tomorrow. What?
It was, yeah, because he was like, because I got his. I tell you what, Sarah Schlepper, she was one of the very best, and I've never been speechless before in my life. But when she said, "I'm trying to race the Olympic downhill with my son," I mean, that hit hard.
Another athlete that is still going. I remember her when she was racing, in her 20s. She was one of those real characters, isn't she? Great to watch back in the day, and now still doing it, still representing as well.
Yeah.
Love it.
You were watching her race slalom for USA, and now she's going to be racing downhill for Mexico.
Along with Prince Hubertus, is he going? You need to get him on. Hubertus von Hohenlohe?
Yeah, he doesn't respond.
Just got to find him at the right place. Let's move on to, you've obviously said you're going back to Levy, and last year you went to Levy, first World Cup race. Was it Alan, had you been to a World Cup race before, or was it first for you as well?
No, it was the first for me, yeah. And wow, what an experience. It's unreal. From the snow show to the present day, I cannot believe what's happened. And then to go to Levy to the World Cup and see these athletes, because we got a media pass, so we sort of so close to the athletes, and speaking to them as though I've known them all my life because I've watched them. It was. I still can't believe it. I really can't. But I really enjoyed it. It was absolutely superb. What an experience! They are such great people, these athletes. Absolutely. And
Alan, you say from the snow show, this is something that we've never said on the podcast before, so I feel like this episode is a good way to share it. That we were in the Premier Inn at London City Airport. Alan knows what's coming. Yeah. We're there tucking into our full English breakfast, which would definitely recommend if you're staying at a Premier Inn anywhere. And this guy, suited and booted, ready to go out for his working day in London, comes up to us and says, "Are you Matt? And are you Mr. Riggs?" I was like, "Yeah." And he recognised we were in our jumpers, and he says, "My mate's always got you on the YouTube on his TV. He's always watching you whenever I'm at his house." And that was like, we'll still talk about that all the time. Are you Mr. Riggs? And since then, it's sort of been like that same day we met Shemi Alcott. The day after we met Dave Ryding. A few weeks later, we went to Levy, and then Hafiel. All right, Alan wasn't with me in the media zone then because he booked it just a few days before we left. Yeah, so
no, we didn't have a passport.
There's a story, yeah. Go on.
2 days before, I had no passport. I'd sent it off to be renewed. That said, it was going to AFL.
We'd only booked it. Booked it maybe 2 weeks before.
I don't know. I've no passport yet. The passport came on the Wednesday, and on the Friday we were on the plane going. unbelievable. But another great experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got
a couple of weeks before, haven't we?
Yeah, on the World Cup slope, yeah.
Yeah, and then we went to but I can't put it into words, Ian. Like speaking to you, I mean, I can talk to you as though I've known you for a long time.
He's done quite a lot of podcasts with us.
Well, I know, yeah, but what I mean
It's number
is,
4 or 5.
Yeah, I know you've done quite a few, but I don't know why it doesn't affect me at all. Like before, it's one or two of them you might think, what am I going to say? But Matt will tell you, I very rarely have anything planned. I usually wait for them saying something and try and pick them up on what they just said. You know what I mean? But that's the way I like it.
But yeah, I was just going to say, even this season, like going from that experience we've just shared in London and that fun weekend there, which hopefully will be very similar again this year, to Levy, to that, I remember just that roar when Edward Hallberg skis into 8th position. That's a standout moment for me from the season. Although despite him not being able to back it up, he did it again the week later in Gurgle. Then I mean, the Friday before the World Cup in Hafio, I was sat here and Alan sat there, not in this room, but in the media room, and we've got World Cup winner and Olympic medalist Victor Moufat-Gendé sat between us doing a live 40-minute podcast interview in his hotel less than 48 hours before he starts a World Cup slalom to book his spot for the World Cup finals. And we end up doing it in Ramon Zenhuizen's bedroom because he's too long to fit in the hotel bedrooms. It's even now I can't believe it. Like
life on the road, eh?
Exactly. Yeah. We have literally gone from us two sat with my phone in front of us to live interviewing a World Cup winner in Norway. I mean that sums it up really.
Persistence, hard work, that gets you those rewards.
Yeah,
there'll be a lot of stumbling blocks along the way, but that's life. And it's so impressive to see that progression and to get to that point. So Matt, you're in the middle of exams at the moment. How long till you're done? What are your plans for the summer?
So
aside from the podcast.
So we are recording here at the end of May, and from 2 weeks today I'll be done. And then I've got 3 months off basically. So summer we've got a trip to Spain booked. I'm sure I'll be up there in the Lake District with Alan at some stage as well. But recording podcasts throughout, I'm sure. I've got an 18th birthday for myself, that is, not just somebody else's, at the end of summer, and then off to university.
Don't know where you're going yet, or do you know?
I do know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's UCLan, which is Preston.
Preston, yeah.
So about an hour away from us, doing sports journalism, of course, which I'm sure I'll still be able to fit everything in for that. So don't worry, everyone. Season 3 is on the cards, and yeah, hopefully that's just gonna advance the broadcasting skills and all perspectives like we spoke about at the start, and maybe even make it a little bit better.
Just reminded me there's a couple of things I'll try and dig out and send your way. There's often opportunities at the Olympics and things like that for like young journalists and a few other bits. I'll try and dig them out when I'm golfing tomorrow, so that's not going to happen tomorrow. But I'll try and remember. Give me a nudge.
I will,
because a lot of opportunities. I know you will. Then a lot of opportunities out there. You just got to look for them, like to gain experience and open those doors. Because for me, I kind of jumped in. I was coaching ski cross. Was on the World Cup briefly coaching, and phoned up Eurosport one day. I'm not that kind of person. I got in as an expert commentator, which got me in. Has had, fantastic career and experiences, mostly almost entirely studio based with them. But what it didn't do was allow me to meet lots of producers from other companies, get out and about. Like if you're working Premier League football, think of the number of networks that are on site there, and maybe you're reporting for the local media, and then you've got BBC, you've got Sky, whoever's covering it in the US, and all these different people that are there that you'll get to go out and meet. But I went into a studio on my own, hit a button, and start talking. So I to recommend to you is getting on any schemes and things that you can, even if it's not quite what you want to do, because you get the contacts. You find out the people who that might be the ones that you need in a few years' time. So yeah, it's interesting. Alan, about yourself, what are you planning for the rest of the summer? No, we don't really have summers or winters because we just have life, don't we? It's just put a jacket on or not.
Well, Matthew usually plans my time out.
You better watch yourself.
I will be this boy. And we're actually going to go on a cruise with Matthew's sister and his mother, me and my wife. So that'll be 1 week. Other than that, I don't think there's much else planned. Like I say, I'll leave it up to Matt to.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. When that week you're on the cruise, that's when I'm speaking to Schifrin.
You better not.
Yes, she's flying over for it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, she's coming to Wardle.
I'll have to have
this is when Alan hijacks a ship and it's coming up the Manchester Ship Canal.
Alan has left the meeting.
That's good. No, good stuff.
Whatever comes. We don't plan too much because, like I say, I never know when Matt's going to say we've got an interview or whatever, and I wouldn't want to miss it.
No,
I just love it.
That's fantastic. You can see how much you both enjoy what you do. The passion really comes through. I think the final thing then, where do you want to take it? With this podcast, what's the future aside from getting Michaela Schifrin on and then stopping?
I mean,
go on, Matt.
2 years ago we didn't have this podcast. 2 years ago we had not even the idea of it, really. So if you'd said to me 2 years ago that we would be here now, talking to you, talking about the last 2 years and every single thing that we've spoken about and every single thing that we've accomplished and done and seen, I really don't know. I mean, whatever next, really, is my response to that. And hopefully, it can't really get better. It can only get bigger in terms of the listeners and the awareness and, I don't know, the Instagram followers. But really, that doesn't really matter, because it doesn't matter how many Instagram followers you've got. If you're at a World Cup and you're in the media zone and you're speaking to these athletes and you get them on your podcast, does it really matter how many people are listening?
You're enjoying what you do. You're enjoying it. People are enjoying it.
You said it to me earlier in the week. It's hard to get 10 listeners on a podcast, and we've had thousands over the course of the last 2 years. So I'm very happy where it is, and if it can get any better, then bring it on.
Would you say, Matt? Quick, I want to jump in there. Would you say it's sort of been life-changing in a way? Is that a bit dramatic?
It's dramatic, but it's true.
True, isn't it? True.
And I think it is for Alan even.
Let's face it, like I said, I don't keep harping on about it, but at my age, something like this is just something you would never dream of. And to be planning the future, it's fine. This keeps me or being active, you know. But I mean, I've always been a late start in everything. I did my first degree when I was 51. I did a master's when I was 57, and I started classroom teaching when I was 60. And I taught music in classroom till I was 75. So it's nothing new, sort of. I find it's just good. It's just good. But it just proves, doesn't it? You don't, you know, you can do anything you want. You've got the commitment and the opportunity and the will to do it. You can do anything you want.
I think
Can't you?
this is the thing, isn't it? Like, I, this is good. This is gonna sound really strange, but I'm sort of known at college now as the skiing guy, the guy with the skiing podcast, and like I got recognised on the bus. Well, not recognised, but like someone said on the bus coming home a few weeks ago, "Oh, you've got that podcast, haven't you?" I didn't have any gear on. He recognised me from maybe just turning around on the bus or something like that, and that, like, I really like that, because if they know that I'm the skiing guy, and the people the athletes that we've spoken to and the people that we've met at races are thinking, who's that kid here with his media pass and his camera, then I might get somewhere. If if Nick Fellows knows that, I'm ready to take his job in a few years, and I'm sure you are too. So yeah, that's the sort, like, the relationship you build as well. I've never messaged him. We've never interviewed him. But Atle Lee McGrath, for example, met him in Levy, met him both days in Half-Yell, and by the Sunday in Half-Yell, he came up after the slalom, after his podium, and said, do you want an interview?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, there's just no relationship apart from seeing him a couple of times over the course of the season, and maybe when I'm in Levy with him, he'll be like, "Oh, you all right? Like, good to see you," something like. Or I certainly will anyway. Good to see you. But yeah, it's just little things like that really stick with us. There's some experiences that I won't forget, even if I do go on and cover however many Olympics and World Championships, and who knows what I'm going to do. And I don't really want to know what I'm going to do, because I think that's part of it all.
I think that's a really good point to wrap it all up from both of you there. Some really nice words, and it's been a lot of fun. Really interesting to hear a little bit more about your background, motivations, and just sharing memories from the podcast, and also chatting ski racing, which is what you guys love to do and do so well. So thank you both for being so open. Hopefully you have a great summer and get lots of people lined up for the podcast, and get ready for the Olympic season.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And thank you very much for
Pleasure.
doing that and preparing it, and coping with us for another hour or an hour and a half or so, because there's been a lot of that this season, and hopefully much more next season.
Hope so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And are we clear?
Hello and welcome back. We just thought that we would tag this extra bit of information, a bit of breaking news, although it might not be quite so breaking by the time you're listening to this. Alan, some sad news, but some expected news, that Dave Ryding at 39 will retire at the end of the 2025-26 season after the Olympic Games. Your initial thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are sad, like you said, that he is retiring, but understandable, because let's face it, for what he's give us public with regards to British skiing is unbelievable, and he's worked very hard and deserves time now to spend with his family.
Yeah. How easily he could have given this sport up many years ago, even before he had started a World Cup. The way things were going, he, World Cup debut as late as 26, was a Europa Cup champion back in 2012, I believe, has come through the dry slope system up at Pendle and his legacy is still there for everybody to see if you visit the little dry slope up in Lancashire now. You just almost can't put into words how crucial and how much of a legend this guy is.
Yeah.
And we've got one more season to enjoy the great man.
Yeah.
We've got one more Olympics where we know he's very eager to better the best British result at an Olympic Games. It was 8th from Martin Bell back in the 80s. And is it just maybe written in the stars that he produces another magic moment in the course of the season? And why not at the Olympics?
Yeah, why not? And it could be. And I hope it is for his sake, because he deserves it. If anybody deserves it, he does. Superb. What a superb advert for British skiing.
And because not a lot of people listening to this, in fact, maybe some of you have met him, and as well as he comes across on the television and as nice as he is, and when he stops for interviews, etc., he's just as nice and even better when you meet him in person. When we met him in London, he was cracking the jokes away, and then in Levy, a good first run in good spirits, couldn't quite convert, and in half yell, even when it was a disappointing day, I chatted to him and really he was staying positive. He was, I'll be back, see everyone in Sun Valley. And I attended a press gathering earlier in the week, and we can now hear from the man himself, Dave Ryding. This is the question that I posed to him earlier in the week, and I'll just incorporate those notes from Dave in here now.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone saw the announcement. Some were probably thinking it was a few seasons overdue. However, no, everything felt right to draw a line after this season. At the grand old age of 39 at the Olympics, as long as I get there, I never count my chickens. But everything was feeling that was the right time to do it. It allows me to fully commit to another season, and it allows me to kind of have a finish line for the commitment. I certainly won't be taking my foot off the gas, because that's just not in my character. I've never done this sport for a jolly around the Alps. I've done it for results, and that will definitely be on the forefront of my mind for this year. I still believe my body's really, really fit and healthy, so I still believe, I can maybe even better everything I've done before. So that will be my goal, better my best ever Olympics as well. That's on the forefront of my mind. And business as usual until February, but obviously, it will be the last one, and I look forward to the finish line once it comes around.
Dave, I just wanted to say, did you ever expect that you would be retiring in the year that you turned 40? Is that something that was ever in the plan?
I actually hadn't even thought of that now. You just made me sound really, I was just like, I'm not 39 yet. So I was like, I'll be 39. But the year I turned 40, I mean, there's, never mind just Brits, but there's never been a slalom skier who's been at the level I've been at this age, which is another reason why it's obviously the time is right. But no, I would never have expected it. And that's why after the last Olympics, honestly, I wasn't thinking about this one. I was thinking maybe I can do another year and then see, because I just won Kitzbühel that year. But no, I certainly didn't think I would be racing into the year I turned 40. People are already asking me if I'm coming back to dry slope racing, but I always said I would, but each year I've raced on snow, that chance has got less, and I'm not sure I want to finish outside the top 10 on a dry slope race after my career. But no, but at the same time, my body feels really, really good. I've got absolutely no pains in my body right now, which is a real nice position to be in, because it means I can still train. I can still do the volume that is needed, what the younger guys are doing. So that's a massive important part of still being able to do it. Is I've managed to, whatever reason it is, over the year, be professionally enough to still be in a position where I can get up, train twice a day off the snow, if not 3 times, and then put in the volume on the snow. So back in the day, that maybe wasn't even talked about. Now it's becoming reality, and I'll be 40 next year. Thanks for that.
In terms of now you've made this decision, maybe a little bit of the pressure's off going into next season. but there's still a lot of things you can achieve. So is there some specific goal that you've got on your mind?
I wouldn't say the pressure's off, because I'm certainly not taking this as a swan song year and a cruise around the Alps for a year. It's very much business as usual in the World Cup. I want to be in the top 10 every single race is my goal, as always. So that will be at the forefront of my mind whenever I arrive at a race venue, is how do I apply myself over the next 3 days to get that best result I can normally on a Sunday in wherever I am. So pressure's not off in terms of getting results from myself, because I just want to add to my legacy and the stats that I've already achieved. And ideally, I'd like to become the oldest World Cup slalom skier on a podium. My last podium I was 12 days too young. So yeah, that's still a box that I feel is achievable and I would like to tick. So not just the oldest winner, but the oldest on the podium. And then, yeah, I still like the world champs. My best major championships result is now 6th, but my best at the Olympics is 9th. So realistically, I think that's a result that can be bettered. So it's still motivating for me to get up like this morning, go for my run, go out on the bike later for however many miles with the local chain gang, and get my legs ripped off. So there's still a lot to aim for and still a lot to go after. So certainly I will have the same amount of pressure on myself. It just relieves the sort of long-term pressure and gives me that finish line of right now, okay, there is a finish line. So yeah, it's like if you're doing a run or whatever, if you've got that finish line to aim for, then maybe you'll get a bit more out of yourself in the last kilometer or whatever it is. So I'm hoping that's what will happen by announcing it now rather than waiting till after the Olympics.
Okay, Alan, just to wrap this little segment up, a great man. I don't think there is much more we can say at this point, because there's a whole lot of summer preparation. There's a whole other season around the corner. Hopefully we'll be there to see him for the first race of his last season, quite possibly the last race of his career in Hafia, which would be, a dream to see. Yeah. Because I said this to you this afternoon, he's everybody's second favourite guy on the men's slalom tour, it seems, of course, behind their compatriots.
Yeah, and also, if you can cast your mind back to when he won in Kitzbühel, it proves what a popular guy he is.
Yeah.
There's so many of the athletes who've spoke on our podcast and spoke about Dave. He's up there. He's up the top, isn't he? No doubt about it.
I think Vicky Goslin, who's the CEO of GB Snowsport, actually said this on the press gathering earlier, that he's not only one of the nicest guys, he's also one of the best athletes. And it's lucky that us as a country, as Great Britain, this is very British for you, American listeners at the moment, but we're so lucky to have one of the nicest people as one of the best athletes in our best ever alpine ski racer, of course, with 7 podiums and 1 victory. Let's hope he can add to that later in the season. But for now, all we can say is thank you, Dave, and good luck with the summer prep. Hopefully see you at some stage during the season.
And hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, okay. Just a final word from Matt and Alan for this first episode back, brought to you by Ski Racing Media. A huge thank you to Ian Findlay for taking time out of his June to record that fantastic interview with us. And thank you very much to Dave Ryding for those quotes and a bit of information from him regarding the retirement. But Alan, that's the first step on a long journey that is summer 2025 for us.
Hopefully, yes, it's the first step, and hopefully the first step of many steps. And it was a great interview and chat. Conversation really with Ian, and enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm looking forward to just more and more of what we do already.
Yeah, so this probably listening going out on Monday afternoon, this one, so we will be back a little later in the week. Not quite sure just how the schedule is looking as of yet, but we'll be back on with us on the other side of the mic asking the questions with the interview that's coming up. But that is enough from us for now. So thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. And Alan, we will
ski you later.
Ski
you later.
Ski you later.